So, the MMA community predicts Tyron Woodley versus Jake Paul. And most of them are saying that Jake Paul should lose because of the experience of Tyron Woodley. Some people are saying if Tyron Woodley goes into the later rounds, the 4th, the 5th, the 6th, the 8th round, it's going to be a hard fight for him because he tends to gas out a little bit.
Tyron to take it to the longer rounds because, it's easy to work on your skills, and I say easy, but it's easier to work on your skills and to work on your technique and all the rest of it. The hard part is working on that extreme conditioning that when you get to rounds 5, 6, and 7, or even 8, to still be able to go, still be able to fight, still be able to perform at a high level. And, as I say, you can get out of bed and work on technique and it doesn't really push you. If you, as I think it was Marvin Hagler or Evander Holyfield, whoever it was that said it, getting out of bed and running when you're sleeping in silk sheets is a lot harder than what it is if you haven't got the silk sheets. Jake Paul's got the silk sheets. Do you know what I mean? Is he pushing himself that hard in the later rounds?
Well,
but I don't know. I want Tyron to win, and I'll pick Tyron. I will, but I honestly think I'm wrong in that pick. I'm picking him publicly. I'm picking him because I'm showing support for my UFC brother. But Jake is taller and he's longer and he's younger, and he hasn't been beaten up. Tyron hasn't won a round in 16 consecutive rounds. Do you know what I mean?
We know Tyron Woodley has gone 25 minutes in an MMA fight a bunch of times, right? We don't know what Jake Paul is capable of as a fighter. We've seen him win very quick, very often. My question is, again, does Jake Paul have the cardio to go all 8 rounds? What does his cardio look like? We've seen it multiple times with fighters who finish fights fast. Just look at Shane Carwin. After the first round, he looks like crap. Look at Frank Mir. He's a guy who used to just finish fights very quickly, very fast, and he looked like crap afterward. There's a big difference between Jake Paul saying he's gone 25 minutes in a training facility, in a training camp, than being under the bright lights in a actual competition where the guy is ready to rip your head off. There's a huge difference. A lot of these people don't get that. There's a big difference between I'm training 5 hours a day in my training facility and then competing. There's a big difference between 20 minutes of sparring, hitting the heavy bag, and 20 minutes of some guy trying to knock your head off. And when you miss,
Tyron Woodley, if all goes to plan, should just sleep Jake quickly. First, second round. He will feel the difference between somebody that has been in the game a long time and is experienced in terms of striking. Whereas, people the argument of Ben Askren before, somebody that has not just retired, he checked out a long time ago, and his strength was never stand up anyway. So I saw it going that way. But in this fight, it's very different. It's very different. And I see Tyron Woodley going in there and just showing correcting the world right now, because I feel like there's a crazy shift right now. I don't know what's going on, but Tyron Woodley's going to be the guy to correct that.
So Tyron Woodley actually trains boxing. Like, he didn't for the first time just like jump in and try jumping in a ring and try boxing for the first time. Like, Woodley's been the Wild Card gym. He's been to the gyms in Vegas. He trained with us in Milwaukee. So he actually has experience boxing sparring with some good guys. But saying this is like, it's weird for me to say, but Jake Paul actually has some okay skills. Like, he's not a new guy. He's not like 2 weeks into a boxing gym and fighting like MMA guys. Like, he trains for this. You can see he has a structure. He has a little rhythm. He has like a little bit of the science down. So it's not like he's a brand new guy coming in. Like that when in the Ben fight, I didn't really know. Like, I saw him fight Nate Robinson. I'm like, all right, that's a basketball player. Who knows what he really has? But like when he squared up with Ben and set up the good shot with the jab, I mean, he knows some skills. So like, it's not like a brand new guy fighting Woodley. But that being said, I mean, Woodley's knocked out Robbie Lawler.
Wants to choose guys with wrestling backgrounds and not solid striking backgrounds to compete against in boxing. I'm waiting for the real boxer, the real striker that steps up and makes that fight happen, because I think Jake's going to get a big awakening. I think Tyron's up to the challenge. He's a diligent guy. He's hooking up with some great boxing coaches. He's got plenty of time to sharpen the striking tools. He's an amazing athlete. So I have high hopes for Tyron. I think it was ill-advised for Ben. Ben was never a very powerful striker in the first place. His wrestling credentials stand on their own. Coming off of hip surgery and all the other stuff that led into that fight. Great for him getting a paycheck like that. I mean, he's never been paid that well in MMA. And I think that's the one thing that's happening is these guys are shining a light on the disparaging difference between pay in boxing versus MMA.
I like Tyron in the fight with Jake Paul. I think the fight goes down. I think Jake Paul is going to be very competitive. I think he's going to be coming with a lot of energy, a lot of heavy shots. But for the most part, it's nothing that T Wood has never seen. I think though, I do think that there's one thing that's going to surprise T Wood, and that's the speed of Jake. I think Jake's a lot faster than he appears. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, T Wood is dynamite. T Wood has dynamite in his hands. T Wood has dynamite with his fast twitch muscles. And the thing with T Wood is that he's starting to believe again. I've been watching him train with Pedro Diaz, and he's got that look back into his eyes. And you can just hear it when he's doing the interviews that this is a guy who's just sick of losing. He's a guy who's sick of having people doubt him and say all the things, and he's been internalizing it. He may smile when he heard people talk trash because he's gotten used to it, but he's going to internalize it, and he's ready to put it out on display. I think the fight is going to go to the 5th round, and I think T Wood is going to get a finish up in the 5th round.
But I do see it as way a lot of MMA fighters are seeing it, or a lot of professional fighters are seeing it. They're seeing Jake Paul, who fought bozos, like basketball players and YouTubers, and they're going, well, he's decent, right? The dude can strike. The dude can throw a punch. But we still, like I said, have never seen him come back from adversity. Never seen him come back from being tired. Never seen him coming back from losing a round. Like I said, I can name a lot of boxers or professional mixed martial artists who had that kind of explosiveness in the first 5 minutes. They just went out there, balls to the wall, and then they gas out in the second round because they've never been pushed. Someone like a Nate or Nick Diaz, they have that cardio that can go 25 minutes. Same with a Max Holloway. He can throw 400 to 500 punches in a fight and not gas out because they have cardio. They don't focus on just throwing every single shot to finish their opponents. Because look at it this way, Conor McGregor was that kind of guy for a while that would just throw heavy punches, knock his opponents out quickly, and he was out. When he threw it against Nate Diaz and Nate Diaz was still in there, he got tired quickly because he wasn't used to somebody just standing and taking his shots. So he got tired, he gassed out, and he lost. That's what could happen tomorrow night, where Tyron Woodley takes his best punches and is still there, and then Jake Paul's like, oh shit, what else can I do? And then Jake Paul is trying to throw more punches, but gasses out because he's just throwing everything with full power. That's why the Diaz brothers and Max Holloway, they can last 25-30 minutes because they're not throwing. Even Mayweather, they don't throw every single punch to knock their opponent out. They'd rather throw, let's say, 100 punches in a row to get you flustered, and then when you're getting tired, then they put it on you. Jake Paul just throws a good jab with the right hand, and that's what he's been doing. It's landed on a lot of people and it's worked. But can it work against Tyron Woodley? We will see, because he's taking punches from a lot of MMA fighters. So right now we're going to have YouTuber True Jody join the conversation, because he
momentum to go through the fucking chin, you end up flattened like Robbie Lawler did. You know what I mean? You've got to be on your bike a little bit when he starts trying that. This is going to be fascinating because obviously Tyron's usually helped by the threat of the takedown, and he's got his kicks and he sets a lot up through the unknown of what's coming next, whereas he doesn't have that in this. We're going to see, really, for a guy who was so high level that Tyron Woodley was, and I don't want to hear any, he's not maybe the best fighter in the world anymore that he was at welterweight, but the motherfucker went 25 minutes with Kamaru Usman, 25 25 minutes with Gilbert Burns, almost 25 minutes with Covington if it wasn't for an injury. They're the top 3 welterweights in the world. That all happened in the last couple of years. So has he got a lot of heart? Is he able in the heat of the moment to, get his guard up, circle out and do all the right things? We're going to find out here, because unless he does the same to Tyron Woodley, you would expect Tyron to at least put up a good fight, and potentially a lot of people are going to be expecting Tyron to win this fight, I'm sure. I just don't think Tyron Woodley's going to win this fight. I think stylistically it really suits Jake, actually, because I look at who Tyron beat in his prime and how it happened. Wonderboy Thompson, Darren Till, Robbie Lawler. In those fights, despite Robbie Lawler's style, all 3 of those guys were allowing Tyron space, time, and a way of basically controlling the fight and setting up his...
And again, True Jody has a good point. He's not gonna be able to come forward and knock his ass out. But here's the thing, like I said before, Jake Paul is so aggressive that he could be like Conor, where he's coming forward, and then Tyron Woodley cracks him. But Tyron Woodley is not known as a real counter striker. He's known as that aggressive guy. So is this going to be a different outlook? Because, like I said, Jake has never taken a significant power punch. He's never came back from adversity. That's what we want to see. Because even if he beats Tyron Woodley like in 30 seconds, that's not telling you nothing. Until you see him go one full round or make it to the second round and start going, then we would see his skill set. Because here's the thing. It doesn't matter if it's bodybuilding, working out, whatever you're into. If you lose, like let's say the first round, or let's say it's bodybuilding and you try to lift 200 pounds on the bench press and you go and you can't do it, your mind is convinced that you can't do it. You kind of fail. Can you come back in 20 minutes, pick up that weight and go, yeah, I did it? Or can Jake Paul come back after he gets knocked down or gets cracked really hard and go, oh snap, I need to recompose and come out? Or can he change his game plan a little bit? That's the thing. Yes, MMA fighters might not be the best boxers in the world, but they have trained boxing a lot, and it is a different boxing per se when he fought like Stephen Boyd Thompson, which is a kickboxer who fights like a karate guy. But still, I think he's not going to be scared. He's not going to be nervous. And in that face-off, when they were doing that face-off, there was part of me that seen Jake Paul was like he was a little nervous. So at the end of the day, I think Jake Paul has the confidence because he's won so much. He's been in front of the camera for so long. He's not scared. But I definitely think if Tyron hits him and cracks him fully with a power shot, that will prove if Jake Paul can handle it. Because sometimes when Jake Paul's just coming forward, and it's always been YouTubers or basketball players, we will see what happens. Because like I said, training in a training camp is different than being in an actual cage or a ring. Getting hit with some guy who wants to knock your head off is different than a guy in your training camp, because in your training camp, they're not there to knock your head off. We will see what happens tomorrow on pay-per-view. I think it's going to go more than one round, and I hope it does, and I hope we see Jake Paul have to come back from adversity to see if he can actually win. A lot of people are saying they're picking the MMA guy because that's what they represent. It's because that's what their sport is, but I definitely think it's going to be a different show than all these other guys, because we know Tyron can hit. Hopefully Tyron comes back as the champion that he once was, and not the guy who was just in his last couple of fights, because if he comes back as the last couple of guys that he fought, he's going to get beat up and lose and go, well, I got paid a lot of money. Tyron needs to come out like he did against Robbie Lawler and sleep Jake Paul, and if he does that, Jake Paul might go, oh, I'm done. He might walk away and the shit show fights might be over. Even Brendan Schaub says that if he loses convincingly, like right away, the fights are done. These Jake Paul fights are done. The magic is gone, because people only are tuning in because he's doing like that Mayweather Ronda Rousey shit where he was just dominating and winning every single fight convincingly. Once someone loses, the magic kind of goes like this and it fades off. But that's just my video, and you heard from the MMA community that some of them are saying Jake Paul hits hard. Jake Paul's not a phony, and Jake Paul might actually have the speed and size advantage. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section below.